Welcome to Just Hoops. In today's video, it's time to finally talk about the new dynamic duo in Philly of James Harden and Joel Embiid. To start the video, we're going to dive into their individual games first, starting with the process himself, Joel Embiid. To start with Joel's game, I just want to try to quantify and put down his dominance on paper by showing his stats. He's averaging 29.8 points per game, 11.1 rebounds, 4.4 assists. He's completely dominating at both ends of the floor, and he's an MVP candidate for a reason. He's shooting at a really high clip, shooting 49.4% from the field and shooting nearly a career high 37% from deep. He's getting 54.2% from 2-point range. So you can see his dominance in the mid-range and in the paint is statistically proven, shooting at such a high clip for having so high of a usage. Joel, in the pick and roll specifically, has been dominant as both a short roll and popper. As you can see through the majority of these clips, he really plays in that in-between area and forces bigs to have to close out and play him in weird angles and weird spots. That's hard for them to do both by containing and hitting that. He's able to take guys off the bounce in short roll situations, really make them work on the ball. And along with that, he's a high-level playmaker in these spots where he's able to understand where the defense is coming from, where the help's at, and easily make these passes across the floor, whether it's a skip or whether just throwing it back out and making the doubles pay over time, whether it's either in the post or in these short roll or pop situations. Along with all of this, his dominance in the short roll and pop is more than evident, and I'm excited to see him play further on as a deep roll threat, rolling hard to the rim with James Harden attacking, with just dominating in the paint more, because there'll be more opportunity for him to really work down there and get easy opportunities, as we'll talk about later in the video. But the more that he's able to dominate low and really continue to work and do what he did so far this season, with James Harden being the primary pick and roll guy, it's going to be really hard to stop for defenses. So now let's talk about James Harden more and him in the pick and roll. So let's start with James Harden by talking about his stats first. We're only going to talk about his 44 games for the Brooklyn Nets in stats due to such a small sample size with Philly. He averaged 22 points per game, along with 10.2 assists and 8 rebounds. He was still dominating in Brooklyn, regardless of whether or not how he finished his time there. But in the pick and roll, let's talk about that. He's a tremendous scorer downhill. He has a quick burst coming off of screens. He's able to get downhill, finish with either hand. He's a really effective floater. We all know that he is an MVP caliber finisher with a strong left hand. Along with that, if you get caught up in that screen or if you switch, he's a huge ISO threat to attack mismatches. And if you get lost in coverage and you give him space, he is more than capable of knocking down a three-point shot. His three-level scoring ability, along with his high-level playmaking, makes him almost unguardable in the pick and roll and has been a huge part of his success throughout his career. Now he's going to be paired with Joel Embiid, and these two MVP caliber players will be playing pick and roll together. Now, onto the main event of this video as we talk about Harden and Embiid in ball screen situations. First, let's talk about how their individual gravity will be able to free up each other. So Joel Embiid and James Harden really attract the defense and have a ton of eyes on them at all times. So if you go 2 on the ball in James Harden, you're going to free up Joel for an easy 15-footer. If you're more worried about the roll, James is going to be able to get to the rim and finish easily. So individually, they'll be able to free each other up and really make things easier for the other one. Next, let's talk about how you can guard this. You can see the Knicks did a ton of different things with over drops. They brought the low man early. You can see that Minnesota went zone in some of these clips. It's going to be really tough to slow them down. And in some of these clips, you just don't know how you can guard them because they can both score at 3 levels. They can both play make. So if you worry too much, the other guys will free up. We'll talk about that later. But it's going to be almost impossible to slow down this combo. Another thing that's going to make them highly successful is that Joel is a tremendous screener. He's a big 7 foot, 280 pound. It's going to be hard for smaller guards to run through him, get over the screen, while James Harden is awesome at setting up, getting low, getting shoulder to shoulder with the screener, and exploding downhill. That combination itself will make it tremendously hard for defenses to contain one or both of them. Along with that, they're also tremendous at drawing fouls. So if James gets downhill, he'll be able to draw fouls. And on the roll, if you collapse too much, there will be fouls drawn there also. the foul drawing was seen against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden this past Sunday, as I think the Sixers shot over 40 free throws. Some incredible amount of free throws for both of these guys. They're going to be able to free each other up, play together, and now let's talk about how they can free up their teammates. The gravity of both of these guys is insane, and it will be able to help each other out. But along with that, if you're too worried about both of them, you're going to send 3-4 guys and really try to guard this action as a team, and it's going to free up the other 3 guys on the floor. For 3-point shots, cracks on the backside, you'll see Thibault, you'll see Maxey, you'll see Tobias Harris. You'll see these guys free in space, able to knock down open threes, slash, drive the open gaps. It really opens up opportunities for everyone on the floor due to these two being in two-man actions together. The more open opportunities for these guys, the more efficient that they'll be, and it's going to be really hard to slow down this team going into the future and going into the playoffs. This new duo goes beyond Joel and James, and it affects everyone else on the floor. So now to summarize the video, Joel Embiid and James Harden are two MVP level players in the NBA. These guys are just incredible players in their own individual right and will be able to help the Sixers when the other one's off the floor. And when they're both on the floor, God bless the defense in guarding you. So I hope this video did a decent job at breaking down what each player does great individually and how they can combine together and be one of the most tough guards in the NBA. So for more content like this, please like, subscribe, and share, and we will catch you guys in the next one.